Just as important as managing your own focus and presence is managing the focus and presence of the participants in your meeting or presentation. One of the things that can help hold their focus better is managing the environment they see you in. So consider your background wisely. If you are in front of a busy background filled with shelves of interesting books and fascinating artworks, it may be nice to look at, but you may well be pointing their focus in the wrong place. It doesn't have to be a clinical background in front of you, a blank canvas, but be mindful of where you want them to look. You are much more likely to be holding that key information than your books or artwork. We often see this in news interviews, guests dialing in, showing us a peek into their interesting world, books, artwork arrayed behind them. We often find ourselves focusing in on these things rather than the key talking points of that guest. So be mindful when setting up your space. Jump onto a call, take a picture or a screenshot, and see what still maybe looks interesting, but not overwhelming, pulling focus away from you. Setting out clear parameters for your participants in meetings and webinars can also help. Are you able to ask them to remove distractions from their desk, turn off their notifications, and remove themselves from other email chains and chats while they are meeting with you? Also, plan regular breaks. And let your participants know that you're planning to take these regular breaks. It is often harder to stay focused when sitting down in front of a screen for long periods of time. So knowing this, letting your participants be aware that you are going to take a short break may help them channel their focus that little bit more finely. Also, plan interaction into your meetings and presentations. There are many ways of doing this, such as using the chat function, using the question and answer function, polls, videos, lots of different ways of interacting with your participants. And again, it's very helpful to let them know that you're planning to do this. If they know that they are going to be drawn into a conversation or be part of an interactive piece, then they are more likely to stay focused with you leading up to that moment rather than switching off and being completely passive. As it can be harder on virtual platforms to read the body language of your participants, and for others to read your body language and facial expressions, it may be useful to consider affirming how you feel about certain pieces of information verbally, letting people know explicitly how you feel about something rather than trusting that your body language and facial expressions can communicate that readily to your audience. A useful way of keeping them engaged and checking in with their presence and focus with you is also by asking them to affirm how they are feeling about your information verbally too. Again, you can't guarantee and trust that what you're seeing and reading is in real time. So you can't guarantee or assume that you know how people are feeling based on their facial expressions and body language. So for you and for the participants, it can be useful to explicitly encourage this information to be shared verbally. The key thing with all of this to keep in mind is your objective. What do you want the participants in your meeting or presentation to think, feel, or do as a response to you speaking? If you're able to keep this clear in your mind and keep your presence and focus clearly on them rather than the distractions on your screen or in your environment, you will enable yourself potentially to stay much more present with the participants and with your talking point.